Hello and welcome back to JBCTR. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, this is my car, and I think if you watch this channel regularly, you probably know it very well. But today, I wanted to try out a car that has kind of intrigued me. This one. There we go. So this is the performance edition of the Fiesta ST, kindly provided to me by Ford for a week. So in this video, I'm just gonna live with it and then, yeah, tell you what it's like.
Yeah, even when I'm happy, you are by my side. And when I close my eyes, you're still stuck on me. You never made it easy for me, baby. You never made it easy for me, baby. Yeah, even if you're gone, you come back at night. 'Cause you ain't get me down whenever I'm on the road. You never made it easy for me, baby.
Now, given that this is a performance edition Fiesta, you would largely expect performance means compromise. Now, performance cars generally are unbearably uncomfortable, to be honest. But so far, this thing seems to be pretty damn comfortable. But before I get into that, I'm going to go through all the stuff that I've not actually done on my own car, which is like, how practical is it? So let's come around the back and I'll show you. So in the back of the car, you have the boot. Unsurprisingly. Now this has just shy of 300 litres of available capacity, and if you drop the seats down, which is pretty easy, you can expand that up to just over 1,000 litres, which actually is quite roomy for a small little car. Now normally when you see me getting into the driver's door, I'm normally going to sit in the driver's seat and give the car the beans. But today, as I'm doing a rather practical review of what is apparently a performance car, I thought I'd start in the back. Now, once you're in, it's not too bad in the back here. It's a little bit difficult to get in. You kind of have to push the seat rest up because it sort of digs into your back otherwise. But for a guy like me, I would be quite comfortable in here, I must admit. But I appreciate I'm on the slightly smaller side, so yeah, anyone larger than me might have a bit of an uncomfortable time in here. But at the end of the day, this is a small car designed for having fun in generally, so I can live with that. So there you have it, the world's quickest practical demonstration of a car, because it's not really that important. Where you want to be in one of these is where I am right now, and you just want to drive it really. I mean, even everyday stuff is pretty cool in one of these. It's a nice place to be, and yeah, so let's go run some errands and see if we can simply live with this thing. Oh. Now, over the past few days, I have been talking to a fair few of you on Instagram and all that kind of stuff, and what was pretty cool to hear was that this channel, JBCTR, is viewed by people all over the world, which is quite cool. But the downside to that, in terms of the performance edition, is that actually there's a fair few of you who don't know what this is and why it's here. That will be because this is a UK only special edition, and therefore I figured that actually before we get into the road tests and that kind of stuff, we should probably park up and I'll run through exactly what this car is and why you should buy one, and then we'll get into the road test. Okay, so what is a performance edition? So as I mentioned, 600 units destined for the UK market only, in this deep orange paint, which is probably the most noticeable change. This is the same heritage paint that was used on the Focus RS, and I guess the best place to start would actually be under the bonnet. Okay, so under the bonnet, if I can find the little catch, we have a 1.5 cylinder, 1.5 litre 3-cylinder Dragon engine. Now this was the Fiesta ST was the first car that this engine was put in, and this one in the Performance Edition produces 200 PS. Yeah, I know what you're saying, Johnny, that's the same as a normal one, and you'd be correct. Under here there are no changes, which is a bit strange for a Performance Edition, but that's not it. This little engine is not the be-all and end-all. Let me explain. Now, if you come round to the side profile of the car, there's one thing that's immediately obvious apart from the paintwork, and that is these Ford Performance alloys. Now, these are substantially lighter than all the other alloys that come on the ST, which is one of the reasons why they call this a Performance Edition. And there's one more too, and I'll bring you around to the boot for that one. So round here is a bit of an indication as to what actually makes this a Performance Edition, and that comes in this little box here. Now let me put this on the old parcel shelf. Now this little box, as you may be able to see, reads Coilover Suspension Toolkit, which means this car is fitted with some fancy pants suspension. It is adjustable. Let me open this, and you get a couple of tools. Well, I say a couple of tools, you get 2 tools. You get one which allows you to raise and lower the ride height of the car, and then you also get some rebound adjustment too. So yeah, pretty cool. So there you go, that is the Performance Edition. Not necessarily more power, but I quite like the fact that Ford have gone down the handling route for this Performance Edition, because people often forget that handling and lighter wheels does make a car faster. Not necessarily in a straight line, but around the twisty turnies, which is what this thing is exceptional for. This is where you want to be. So yeah, let's get into driving it.
I will leave it up to you. I will leave it up to you.
Now, literally just as I've set off to find some nice fun country roads, it started to rain. So maybe take it a bit careful, but I'm sure we can find something. Now I must admit, the weather is really not on our side today. It's absolutely hammering down. So I thought I'd talk to you about the setup on the car. So this car is currently running Michelin Pilot Super Sports, which were made in a size specifically for the Fiesta ST and then very quickly discontinued. So my car runs the Pilot Sport 4s now. It was delivered with the Super Sports, and actually the Pilot Sport 4s I find is a better day-to-day tyre. In weather like this, the Super Sports, not great if I'm honest. I mean, brilliant in the dry, wicked, but as a daily, especially in England where it's always raining, Super Sports just don't really cut it, and that's probably why they've been discontinued. So there you go, a little bit of a fun fact for you. Right then, we can also do suspension in the rain and day-to-day comfort. Now this is a very bumpy road. I'm doing 30 mile an hour, and actually the ride is very good. I mean, in the normal Fiesta, even not lowered, you would be sort of bouncing all over the place, but on this car with the coilovers, which I believe are made by KW, by the way, it's very comfortable, actually. For a car that you can chuck around corners and really get aggressive with, these are amazing. Okay, now this little section of road sat in front of me is one of my favourite bits of road. It's only short, it's like a little hill climb section. As you can see, it's traffic lighted, which means you know there's nothing coming the other way. Now, as we go green, even in the wet, I feel this is a good chance to test the handling of this thing. Now remember, on those Super Sport tyres, which are probably not the best for me doing this, heel and toe into first, because this is a very tight corner. Oh, cool. See, that's the front end just slipping a little bit, but I tell you what, it doesn't half keep it planted, considering the roads are absolutely sodden at the moment. Again, if you watch the channel regularly, you'll probably recognise these roads. I really like them. There's a fair few cameras in them, long sweeping corners, and I must admit the combination of these light wheels and those coilovers are bloody brilliant. I mean, even in this horrendous weather, you're still getting some pretty beefy sideways G's, and it feeds back so much through the steering wheel. I mean, more so than the standard car. It's brilliant. This is awesome. It's a second for a sharp left and pin it. Oh, I mean, that engine, I know it's the same standard power as the rest of them really. It just does feel a little bit more punchy with those lighter wheels. Wow, I think Ford have done quite a good job on this one. So with a rather rainy end to my week with the Performance Edition, it's really quite nice to see a manufacturer who's calling their cars performance but focusing on the things that actually make driving fun, like the handling, the light wheels that make it feel aggressive off the line. I think it's cool to drive. I really like this little thing. Yes, there's no more power and they've probably been slated for it, but in this world of modern motoring, it seems to be just like a, who can produce the most powerful car? And it's got to the point now where they're so fast, it's kind of negligible. So focus on the handling, epic. So yeah, that is the Performance Edition. Now before I go, just want a brief shout out to the guys at Redline Magazine, Dom and Mark, because they helped me get some absolutely wicked rolling shots of this car. And also the thumbnail you see is due to Dom. So yeah, thumbs up to those guys. So with that, I'm getting really wet, so we'll leave it there. If you want to see more of me, feel free to subscribe, and man, I'm really wet now. Give it a like, thanks, cheers.
Aside from my soul.